You must have heard about these words, strategies, methods, and techniques. Almost in every lecture, these words some resource persons might have uttered and uttered several times. Right at the beginning, I would try to explain what each word means. Maybe someone among you may be confused. What is the difference between strategy, methods, and techniques? So let's be very clear about these terminologies. They are excessively used in education literature. In almost all the code you would come across, and some of you might be thinking, "Oh, what is the difference between these words?" And some of you might be using them synonymously. When in education we use these words strategies, methods, and techniques, they represent different levels of instructional planning and implementation. Try to understand it. They all aim at explaining same phenomena, and that is planning and implementation of our educational exercise. But what is the difference? Strategy does the same thing, that it explains the planning and implementation of instructional strategy. Then methodology, same thing. Technique, same thing. Difference is that of level. Strategy is at the highest level. Methodology is at the second highest level. And at the lowest level of instructional planning and implementation comes techniques. I'll explain further. Each of these, that is strategies, methods, and techniques, they play distinct role, though they refer to the same phenomena, but they play different roles and they operate at varying levels of generality and speciality. 2, 3 slides I'll show you to differentiate these three terms. Strategy is a word which is borrowed from military literature, and now it is being used in almost all social sciences. When we use it in educational literature, strategies are overarching plans or approaches used to achieve long-term educated goals. Remember, long-term educated goals, when we want to achieve, we have to finalize about what strategy we are going to follow. They are broad framework that guide teachers in deciding how to deliver their content. What is the focus of strategy? Big picture and long-term planning. And example, collaborative learning strategy. Collaborative learning strategy. That means that when we are going to deliver the content in the educational setup for a particular class, we are going to follow collaborative learning strategy. That means that collaboration would be the key. Then would we'll further discuss in detail. We'll sort out what methods we'll discuss, what techniques we'll discuss. But the overall policy is we have decided we'll have collaborative learning. Then second example of strategy is differentiated learning. Differentiated learning means you have in front students who are having different abilities, different capacities. They are coming from different backgrounds. Some of them may be having disabilities. So our strategy would be that we will have differentiated instruction, meaning by we will see to it that needs of all the students coming from a different environment, having different capabilities are met. And then obviously the purpose of strategy is to guide instructional decisions that align with educational goals. There are certain education goals in front of them. So first is that we decide that what strategy we'll follow. Collaborative strategy, differentiated strategy, or some other strategy. These are two examples there given here to explain. Now, what are educational methods? We'll define educational methods that they are systematic ways or plans. They are systematic ways or plans for organizing, teaching, and learning process. A method is more specific than strategy. Strategy is an overall framework. We'll have collaborative learning. We'll have differentiated instruction. But then within that strategy, we are using one method or some methods. And the focus is how content is delivered in a structured way, in systematic way. An example would make it clear that I am going to follow lecture method, or I am going to follow a method of online workshop plus lecture method. So another method is project-based learning. And the purpose of methods is that methods provide specific structure. Whether I am going to use lecture method, whether I am going to use discussion method, whether I am going to use project method, these are methods. They are concrete way of guiding and learning. Now comes the third one. That is what are educational techniques. Techniques are specific actions. I told you levels. Highest level was strategy. What is going to be our strategy? Second, what methods we are going to use in that strategy. And then within the method, say I am using lecture method now. I am delivering an online lecture, for instance. And now what techniques I use? I'll use question answer technique, for instance. Within lecture method, I'll just ask, okay, Lareb, Rubab, Anila, what is this? Have you understood that? All I repeat what the definition of techniques. So within lecture method, I'll use some techniques to enhance the effectiveness of my teaching. And examples I just gave you question answer technique are use of AV aids. AV aids are also techniques, audio visual aids. And the purpose of techniques is that fine details. I have to deliver a lecture. I have to pass on the contents through lecture method, but within lecture method, I'll use several techniques. Maybe question answer technique I'm using at times. At other times, I'll start using AVA techniques. I hope by now it is clear the difference between these three terms. Strategy is a broad, long-term plan for achieving educational goal. An example given is collaborative learning. Methods, organized approaches for delivering content, such as lecture method, discussion method, project method, then techniques, specific action. So if I am allowed to use economic terms or biology terms, macro and micro, strategies are at macro level and techniques are at micro level, MACRO, macro level, bigger level, micro level, lowest level.